Why were Genghis Khan's armies able to sweep across Eurasia? In our impression, the Mongol cavalry, with their exceptional mobility and flexibility, created the myth of being invincible with tens of thousands of cavalry. But what you may not know is that Genghis Khan also had the most advanced artillery in the world at that time, the most powerful engineering and communication units, and even a highly combat-effective naval force. In this video, we'll break down the structure of Genghis Khan's army all at once. In the 13th century, one reason the Mongol army was invincible despite being outnumbered was not only Genghis Khan's exceptional leadership skills, but also a military system that was well suited to the national conditions. The conscription system Genghis Khan implemented was mainly divided into two types, one for his own country, and the other for the countries he conquered. Within Genghis Khan's own country, he adopted a system where the military and civilians were united. Was a soldier. All Mongols aged 15 to 70 were both civilians, and soldiers were civilians, and civilians were soldiers, which made the overall combat effectiveness of the Mongols extremely formidable. In the countries he conquered, Genghis Khan's conscription involved recruiting soldiers from the local population and prisoners of war to replenish or expand his army. Every time the Mongol army captured a city, young men fit for service were conscripted into the military. This allowed the Mongol nation, with its small population, to quickly replenish its forces, providing a continuous supply of troops for its global conquests. So how exactly was Genghis Khan's army structured? The Mongol army, once fully formed, consisted of 8 types of units, including cavalry, cavalry artillery, engineers, infantry, communications troops, and sailors. Cavalry was the most fundamental unit in Genghis Khan's army. In the early days of Genghis Khan's military, his army was composed entirely of cavalry. One could say that Genghis Khan built his empire through cavalry, until he unified all Mongol tribes. The Mongol army was a purely cavalry force. In an era without machines, cavalry had a significant speed advantage. Genghis Khan used this advantage to unify the vast Mongolian plateau, sweeping across Eurasia and becoming world-renowned. After Genghis Khan unified the Mongol tribes, the remaining forces fled to the Western Liao and Khwarezmian empires to prevent these enemies from making a comeback. Genghis Khan established the second type of unit, the Border Defense Army, in the western regions of the Mongol Empire. The establishment of the Border Defense Army effectively secured the empire's territories and allowed Genghis Khan to confidently begin his conquests of the outside world. At this point, the third type of unit, the 1,000-troop units, appeared in the Mongol army. Every time Genghis Khan conquered a region, the Mongols would forcibly conscript young men into the army. They used the enemy's own strength to defeat the enemy. Genghis Khan organized a large number of 1,000-troop units during his foreign wars, which effectively accelerated Mongolia's victories in expansion wars. The fourth type of unit that Genghis Khan established was artillery, another main force in the Mongol army besides cavalry. The world knows that Mongol cavalry was a top-tier military force at the time, but many have overlooked the strength of the artillery, which rivaled the cavalry. As early as the late Tang dynasty, gunpowder was gradually developed and used in warfare. Initially, these gunpowder weapons were not explosive. After Genghis Khan invaded the Jin dynasty, he obtained more advanced gunpowder technology. The concept of siege warfare also gradually took root in his mind. He used advanced gunpowder technology from the Central Plains to improve his artillery units, which fundamentally changed the Mongol army's previously poor ability in siege warfare. With newfound engineering capabilities, the Mongol army launched an attack on the Khwarezmian Empire. In this battle, Genghis Khan brought a new technical unit from the Jin dynasty engineers. These craftsmen from the Central Plains took on the tasks of military engineers. They built bridges, constructed fortified positions, and even helped the Mongols redirect rivers, using flood engineering. With the support of artillery and engineers, Genghis Khan quickly conquered the Khwarezmian Empire. In the battles against the Jin dynasty and the Khwarezmian Empire, a new type of unit was used by the Mongols for the first time: infantry. Initially, Genghis Khan's infantry only appeared in small numbers in the 1,000-troop units organized for the invasion of the Jin dynasty. Later, in the 1,000-troop units used against Khwarezm, Genghis Khan organized a large number of infantry to conduct joint operations with the cavalry, yielding excellent combat results. From then on, infantry became the 6th unit in Genghis Khan's army. As the Mongol Empire expanded, oral communication methods could no longer keep up with the empire's growth. To improve communication efficiency, Genghis Khan established a postal relay system on top of the existing cavalry messengers, which played a crucial role in the success of the Mongol expeditionary forces. At the same time, this relay system made a great contribution to the communication and transportation of our nation in later times. The last type of unit, which may surprise many, was the navy. Historically, the Mongol army was known for its expertise in cavalry and hit-and-run tactics, and it was widely believed that they were not skilled in naval warfare. But after Genghis Khan entered the Central Plains, to adapt to the local environment and the nature of the wars, he implemented a series of effective measures, gradually establishing a naval force. Through training in naval warfare, a highly effective naval force with distinct Mongol characteristics was soon formed. Thus, Genghis Khan gradually shifted away from the concept of winning solely through cavalry, created a mixed combat force with 8 different military units. This turned the Mongol army into an invincible war machine that swept across the Eurasian continent. It also laid a solid foundation for their descendants to establish the Yuan dynasty. In the late Yuan dynasty, uprisings surged across the land. The Mongol cavalry, once dominant across Eurasia, became stepping stones for competing warlords. So, besides Zhu Yuanzhang, who else among the warlords of the late Yuan dynasty had the potential to take the throne? In this video, let's go through these heroic figures in chronological order. First, we have Han Shantong and Liu Futong, who initiated the Red Turban Rebellion at the end of the Yuan dynasty. The Yuan dynasty's politics were dark, and bureaucracy was corrupt. Han Shantong believed in the Maitreya and gathered his followers. The world was in chaos, so he teamed up with Liu Futong and others to plan a rebellion. At that time, the Yellow River was flooding. The Yuan government conscripted to 160 point, taking advantage of the situation. Han Shantong and his men spread rumors, saying, "Don't trust the one-eyed man." They incited the people to rise up against the Yuan government. Soon after, they dug up a one-eyed man named Han Shantong in the riverbanks. He claimed to be a descendant of Emperor Hizong of Song. He prepared to lead a rebellion. However, the plan was quickly exposed, and Han Shantong was killed. Liu Futong then raised an army in Yingzhou and called it the Xiong Army. The army quickly grew to 100,000 troops. Many regions across the Yuan territory also rose up in response, since they all wore red scarves as their symbol. They became known as the Red Turban Army. The Mongol cavalry, once dominating Eurasia, were now terrified by the sheer numbers of the Red Turban Army. Emperor Shun of Yuan even considered abandoning the capital and fleeing to Shangdu. However, the Red Turban Army was not a unified force. It was divided into many factions, with various leaders. Moreover, local landlords loyal to the Yuan, like Chegan Timur and Li Siki, rose to challenge them. This severely weakened the Red Turban Army. In 1355, Liu Futong proclaimed Hanliner, the son of Han Shantong, as emperor. The country was named Song, and the reign title was Long. However, though Hanliner was emperor, he was merely a figurehead. The various Red Turban armies only recognized him as a nominal leader. 5 years later, Chegan Timur captured Kaifeng. Liu Futong fled with Hanliner and eventually sought refuge with Zhu Yuanzhang. Zhu Yuanzhang used the Han Song regime's name to build his own ruling foundation. After defeating Chen Yuliang, he had Hanliner declare him the king of Wu of the Han Song. In 1366, Hanliner was drowned in the Yangtze River at Guazhou. Su Shaohui was the savior of Chen Yuliang. His real name was Su Zhenyi. He was from Luotian County, Qizhou. After Liu Futong's rebellion, Peng Yingyu, Su Pusheng, and others formed the Chahuang Red Turban Army. They elected Su Shaohui as emperor. The country was named Tianwan. Although Su Shaohui was the emperor, he was essentially a figurehead. The Tianwan regime expanded rapidly. Within a few months, they captured Huguang and large parts of Jiangxi. The army quickly grew to over 1 million troops. But soon the Yuan dynasty recovered, and dispatched a large force to suppress them. Peng Yingyu was killed in battle, and the capital Qishui was captured by Yuan reinforcements. Although the Tianwan regime suffered heavy losses, it quickly rose again. Not only did they regain territory, they also sent Ming Yujin to advance into Sichuan. However, as Tianwan's territory expanded, internal conflicts grew increasingly intense. In 1357, Ni Wenjin attempted to assassinate Su Shaohui but failed. He fled to Chen Yuliang's camp, only to be killed by Chen Yuliang. 3 years later, Chen Yuliang killed Su Shaohui and proclaimed himself emperor. The Tianwan regime came to an end. Chen Yuliang's dynasty was called the Great Han. However, he was unable to command the respect of the people. The remnants of Tianwan were deeply dissatisfied with Chen Yuliang's usurpation. Ming Yujin even declared independence in Sichuan. Although Chen Yuliang inherited vast lands from Su Shaohui and commanded a strong army, his reign as emperor was highly unstable. To establish his authority, he decided to attack the seemingly weak Zhu Yuanzhang. Unexpectedly, he was defeated badly by Zhu Yuanzhang and even lost Jiangxi. In 1363, Chen Yuliang mobilized 600,000 troops to besiege Hongdu, modern-day Nanjing. Zhu Yuanzhang's nephew Zhu Wenzheng defended the city to the death. After 3 months of bloody battles, Zhu Yuanzhang's reinforcements finally arrived. By then, Chen Yuliang's forces were exhausted, while Zhu Yuanzhang's troops were full of morale. The two sides engaged in a decisive battle on Poyang Lake, which ended in a crushing defeat for Chen Yuliang, who was killed in battle. This paved the way for Zhu Yuanzhang to unify the country. The following year, Zhu Yuanzhang captured Chen Yuliang's capital, Wuchang. Chen Yuliang's son, Chen Li, was given the title of Marquis of Guide. Later, Chen Li and his family were exiled to Goryeo by Zhu Yuanzhang. He eventually passed away in 1408. Ming Yujin's original name was Rui. He changed his surname to Su due to his belief in the Ming religion. After Shaohui was killed, Ming Yujin, angered, declared himself independent. He proclaimed himself emperor in Chongqing and named the state Daxia. Due to the difficult terrain of the Sichuan-Chongqing region, his regime managed to defend its homeland during the chaotic wars among the various warlords. In 1366, Ming Yujin passed away at the age of 38 after his son succeeded him. The Ming army invaded Sichuan. His son surrendered and was exiled to Goryeo along with Chen Li, originally a salt merchant. Oppressed by local officials, he led his brothers in rebellion. His forces quickly grew in size. In 1353, Zhang Shicheng captured Gaoyu. He proclaimed himself King Cheng. He established the state of Great Zhou. The Yuan dynasty's chancellor, Tutu, led an army of 1 million to besiege Gaoyu. However, they could not breach the city for a long time. In the end, Tutu was dismissed from office by the Yuan dynasty, and the million-strong army was defeated. Zhang Shicheng's power grew even stronger. He successively captured important cities in Jiangnan. He moved his capital to Suzhou, becoming a neighbor to Zhu Yuanzhang. As the saying goes, rivals in the same trade are enemies. The two sides openly fought and secretly refusing to yield to each other. To deal with Zhu Yuanzhang, Zhang Shicheng surrendered to the Yuan dynasty. But shortly after, he declared himself king of Wu. Zhu Yuanzhang despised Zhang Shicheng for his opportunistic and inconsistent behavior and labeled him as short-sighted. However, Zhang Shicheng was much harder to deal with than Chen Yuliang. In addition to direct battlefield confrontations, Zhang Shicheng used wealth to corrupt Zhu Yuanzhang's defenses. Several of Zhu Yuanzhang's generals defected to Zhang Shicheng on multiple occasions. As a result, Zhu Yuanzhang harbored a deep hatred for Zhang Shicheng. In 1366, Zhu Yuanzhang launched a campaign to destroy the Wu state. The following year, after Zhang Shicheng was captured by the Ming army, he committed suicide on the way to Nanjing. Fang Guozhen, also known as Fang Guzhen, was the first rebel leader in Jiangnan during the late Yuan dynasty, starting his uprising 2 or 3 years earlier than the Red Turban Rebellion. The Yuan dynasty's multiple attempts to suppress him were unsuccessful. Interestingly, every time Fang Guozhen defeated the Yuan forces, he would send a message offering to surrender. But after accepting the Yuan dynasty's amnesty, he would rebel again. The Yuan forces were exhausted by him and could only let him control eastern Zhejiang. After Zhang Shicheng's downfall, Zhu Yuanzhang wanted to take care of Fang Guozhen as well. After suffering several defeats, Fang Guozhen surrendered to Zhu Yuanzhang. In 1374, Fang Guozhen passed away, becoming one of the few rebel leaders in the late Yuan era to die a natural death. Compared to the previous rebel leaders against the Yuan dynasty, Chen Yuding was a unique figure among the warlords of the late Yuan. First, he had no familial relationship with Chen Yuliang. Secondly, he always considered himself a loyal servant of the Yuan dynasty. Chen Yuding was from Fujian. For his achievements in raising an army to fight bandits, he was appointed to an official position by Chen Yuliang's forces several times and quickly expanded his power. He forced the provincial government of Fujian to appoint him as a government minister. Thus, he controlled the 8 prefectures of Fujian, ruling the region independently. But in name, they still showed loyalty to the Yuan dynasty. They paid tribute to Dadu every year. After Zhu Yuanzhang had pacified Fang Guozhen, he sent Tong He, Hu Tingmai, and others to march into Fujian. Under the leadership of Tong He and Hu Tingmai, Chen Yuding was defeated and captured. He and his son were executed by Zhu Yuanzhang. Na Hachu was a descendant of Mukali, one of Genghis Khan's four braves. In his early years, he had been captured by Zhu Yuanzhang. Zhu Yuanzhang released him. At that time, Suda advised Zhu Yuanzhang to kill Na Hachu to prevent future trouble. But Zhu Yuanzhang said there was no justification to kill him. After the fall of the Yuan dynasty, Na Hachu stationed his troops in Liaodong, threatening the Ming border. Zhu Yuanzhang sent envoys multiple times to recruit him, but all failed. In 1387, Zhu Yuanzhang sent Duke Song Fengsheng with 200,000 troops to campaign in Liaodong. Seeing that Zhu Yuanzhang was serious, Na Hachu hastily surrendered to the Ming dynasty. Thus, the Ming dynasty achieved nationwide unification. Zhu Yuanzhang infected Na Hachu as Marquis of Hexi. The following year, Na Hachu died while marching to Wuchang. His son was executed by Zhu Yuanzhang for involvement in the Lanyu case. He was the founder of the first Special Forces unit in Chinese history. He could govern a country with civil prowess and purify the state with military power. His strategic tactics were unparalleled in the world. He once used 50,000 soldiers of the Wei 5 tribes to defeat 500,000 throughout his life. Soldiers. He fought 76 battles, never losing once. He was hailed as the second sage of warfare. He served as a general of Wei for over 20 years, making the state of Wei dominate the land. But within less than 3 years, he caused the Chu army to defeat the Wei army. However, he was ruthless in pursuing fame and fortune. He would kill for his ambitions, and thus became the first scoundrel in history. In this video, let's take a deep dive into the extraordinary life of Wu Che. From his birth in Wei, in 440 BCE, to his death in 381 BCE, when he offended noble families through his reforms and was brutally killed. He lived for a total of 59 years. Wu Che was originally born into a wealthy family, one that could afford tens of thousands of gold coins. He was a true heir to a wealthy family. Compared to today's heirs who only know how to indulge in pleasure, wealth, in Wu Ke's eyes, was like dirt. He wanted to become a high official. For this, he spent all of his family's fortune. But in his youth, Wu Che wanted to be an official for 10,000 gold coins. Converted to today's value, that would be tens of millions of RMB. But the official positions were limited, and the money was too little. As a result, Wu Che not only didn't get any official rank or position, he ended up bankrupt. People around him mocked him as a wastrel. But compared to the mockery, Wu Ke's methods of revenge were also brutal. He killed more than 30 people with his sword. Killing was a crime. So naturally, he could no longer stay in the state of Wei. He got rid of his wife, who stood in his way. He abandoned his mother, who stood in his way. At the time, the highest level of education was in the state of Lu, equivalent to today's Peking University or Tsinghua University. Wu Che was drawn by its reputation. Originally, Wu Che could have been an honest scholar. But because he didn't return home from mourning when his mother died, he was expelled from school. Thus, the warring states lost a Confucian scholar, but gained a master of military strategy. In 412 BCE, 28-year-old Wu Che established his career in the state of Lu. He married a woman from the state of Che. At the same time, Duke Xuan of Che launched an attack on the state of Lu. Duke Yuan of Lu wanted to use Wu Che. But because Wu Ke's wife was from Che, he was suspected of disloyalty. Wanting to prove his loyalty and achieve success, Wu Che killed his own wife. As he wished, he led the state of Lu to a great victory against Che. However, the first step in Wu Ke's life turned out to be the wrong one. The state of Lu was small and lacked ambition. It only sought to protect itself. Duke Yuan feared offending the state of Wei by using Wu Che. In the end, Wu Che was not given a choice but to leave Lu for Wei. In 409 BCE, Duke Wen of Wei appointed the 31-year-old Wu Che as chief general. He commanded an attack on the Qin strongholds of Linjin and Yuanyi in the Hexi region. He then fortified those positions. Though Wu Che was ruthless to his family, he was extraordinarily kind to his soldiers. He ate and slept under the same conditions as his troops. A year later, Wu Che once again led his army to attack Qin. This time, they advanced all the way to Zhang County. The Qin army could only retreat to the Luo River to build defenses, avoiding further battles. Thus, the state of Wei seized control of the Hexi region from Qin. They established the Zhi Commandery. Wu Che finally fulfilled his desire and was appointed the first governor of Zhi Commandery. At 32, Wu Che was like a dragon entering the sea. And he stayed in the state of Wei for nearly 20 years. He reformed Wei's military system and established the first special forces unit in Chinese history, the Wei Wu tribe. They could pull 12 Dawn units of weight in a siege. They wore triple-layered armor. They carried 50 arrows on their backs, held a sword in their hands, and had a knife at their waist. They carried 3 days' worth of rations. They could ride 100 li approx. Out 50 kilometers. The combat power of the Wei army skyrocketed. During his core period, Wu Che fought 76 major battles with the feudal lords. He won 64 of them with overwhelming victory. The army swept through for territories, expanding the land by 1.000 in 389 BCE. Duke Hui of Qin sent 500,000 troops to attack the Wei strongholds of Yan. At the age of 51, Wu Che personally led 50,000 Wei Wu soldiers who had never earned any military merits, along with 500 chariots and 3,000 cavalry. In the Battle of Yin and Jin, he decisively defeated the Qin army, successfully defending the Hexi region. In 387 BCE, Duke Hu of Wei appointed the 53-year-old Wu Che as general to attack the state of Che. The Wei army advanced as far as Linshu, which is present-day Teng County in Shandong. However, just as a man fears fame like a pig fears Wu Che, who had earned many military achievements, inevitably became the target of envy. Due to slander, he aroused Duke Wu's suspicion. As a result, Wu Che left the state of Wei and fled south to the state of Chu. A year later, at the age of 54, Wu Che was promoted to the position of Chancellor of Chu, which was the highest official title during the Spring and Autumn and Warring States periods. With great power once again in his hands, Wu Che began a series of drastic reforms in Chu. Although the strength of Chu increased significantly after Wu Qi's reforms, allowing them to expand southward into Baiyu, extending their territory to the Dongting Lake and Kangwu regions. His reforms deeply threatened the interests of Chu's nobility. This laid the seeds for Wu Qi's tragic downfall. In 381 BCE, the state of Chu sent troops to aid Zhao, which was being attacked by Wei. They fought Wei's forces at Zhu. Chu's army crossed Liang Men and set up camp, drinking from the Yellow River. They cut off the connection between Wei's central territories and its capital, Enyi. Just as the Chu army was winning successive victories on the front lines, King Dao of Chu passed away. Wu Che, then 59 years old, went to pay his respects. However, he was shot with arrows by discontented Chu nobles. Before dying, he drove his sword into the corpse of King Dao. As the nobles killed Wu Che, they also struck the corpse of King Dao with their arrows. According to Chu law, those who harmed the king's body and soldiers would be executed along with their entire clans. In his final act of wisdom, Wu Che avenged himself. After Wu Qi's death, his reforms in Chu were declared a failure. Wu Che served in 3 different states during his life. He rose and fell 3 times. The state of Lu had no ambition to dominate. Thus, the famous general Wu Che became a burden to the state. When the strategic focus of Wei shifted from attacking Qin to attacking the Central Plains, Wu Qi's fate was sealed. He could never become a national hero. He was forced to leave. When Wu Che tried to change the Chu people's philosophy of passive governance, he ultimately paid the price with his life. If you enjoyed this, please click to follow. Leave a comment below about your favorite historical figure. See you in the next video. Wang Yongming was the greatest man of the Ming Dynasty. He was one of the 2 greatest sages in Chinese history. In literature, he founded his own school. In military affairs, he brought peace and established the Yongming school of thought, gaining countless devoted followers. So, how did the sage Wang Yongming of the Ming Dynasty come to be? What exactly is the Yongming school of thought? In this video, we will explore the life of Wang Yongming. In ancient times, the birth of a sage was often accompanied by omens. Wang Shuren was no exception. On one day in 1472, after spending 14 months in the womb, Wang Shuren was finally born into a scholarly family in Yuyao County, Shaoxing Prefecture, Zhejiang Province. His father, Wang Hua, was just a minor scholar at the time. He had taken the imperial examination several times, but never passed. Although their family was fairly well off, he still had to supplement their income by teaching. When Wang Shuren was 9 years old, His father, Wang Hua, finally passed the imperial examination. Year, he placed first in the National Civil Service exam. He became the top scholar. Wang Shuren then followed his father from Yuyao to live in Beijing, opening the door to a whole new world after arriving in Beijing. Wang Shuren didn't spend all day cooped up at home reading. Instead, he frequented Buddhist temples and Taoist monasteries. He also enjoyed horseback riding, and archery, and dog racing. When he heard about a peasant uprising in northern Jili, he even wrote a memorial to the emperor, Ming Emperor Shaozong, offering strategies. Saw that his son was neglecting his studies, so he quickly brought in a teacher to get him back on track. But as Wang Shuren continued to study, he started having doubts about the philosophy of investigating things Juwu. In the Ming dynasty, Juji's Neo-Confucianism was the dominant school of thought that every blade of grass and every tree contained wisdom. So, Wang Shuren decided to test this by taking a bamboo stick and trying to understand the principles of heaven and earth. But after staring at the bamboo for 7 days in the courtyard, he didn't discover any profound truth. Instead, he fell seriously ill. It was then that the young Wang Shuren realized that simply thinking and dreaming at home would not make him a sage. At the age of 21, Wang Shuren took part in the Jiangxi provincial examination for the first time. However, he failed the national imperial examination. The chief examiner, Li Dongyang, encouraged him, saying that he was certain to be the top scholar next time. But Wang Shuren failed the imperial examination again the next time. It wasn't until he was 28 years old that Wang Shuren finally passed the imperial examination, placing 7th in the second rank. During this time, he began to study military strategy and tactics. He visited Yangming Cave on Mount Kueji, and from then on, he adopted the name Yangming Hermit, becoming known as Wang Yangming. At this time, Wang Yangming's father, Wang Hua, had already risen to the position of vice minister of the imperial household. His primary task was to teach the crown prince. It was a promising career. But everything changed when he met this particular crown prince. Yes, this was Zhuhao Zhao, the most playful crown prince of the Ming dynasty. Soon, he would become the most playful emperor of the Ming dynasty. In 1505, after the death of Emperor Shaozong Zhuhao Zhao, at the age of 15, a group of eunuchs led by Liu Jin began to heavily interfere in the affairs of the court, causing great dissatisfaction among the scholar officials. The 6 ministries and the 9 ministers jointly submitted a memorial, but Zhuhao Zhao sided with the 8 tigers. Senior cabinet officials like Zi Qian and Liu Jian were deeply disappointed. They resigned and returned to their hometowns. Officials like Dai Xian were also infuriated. They submitted petitions to impeach Liu Jin. Liu Jin wanted to arrest them and bring them to Beijing for punishment. At that time, Wang Yangming, who was serving as an official in the Ministry of War, submitted a petition to satirize Liu Jin. As a result, traitor, he was beaten with 40 lashes. He was demoted to Longchang, Guizhou, as a low-ranking official. Wang Hua was also expelled from Beijing and reassigned as Minister of Personnel in Nanjing. On his way to Longchang, Liu Jin sent assassins to kill Wang Yangming. Wang Yangming pretended to jump into a river to commit suicide and thus escape the assassins. At the time, Longchang was still a desolate place, surrounded by barren mountains and wilderness. The conditions were extremely harsh. After arriving in Longchang, Wang Yangming didn't become disheartened. Instead, he reflected on his experiences over the years, gaining new insights into the way of the sage. He realized that the way of the sage comes from the heart, not from external things. Thus, he proposed the idea of no principle outside the heart, innate knowledge, and the unity of knowledge and action. This meant applying the inherent moral principles in one's heart to real-world matters. Following in the footsteps of Lu Zhuyuan, Wang Yangming once again promoted the philosophy of the school of the mind. Later generations combined their teachings into what is known as the Lu Wang School of Mind. 3 years later, Wang Yangming was transferred from Guizhou to Jiangxi to serve as a county magistrate. After Liu Jin's downfall, Wang Yangming returned to the central government. In 1516, the Minister of War, Wang Qiong, recommended Wang Yangming to serve as the governor of Jiangxi. At that time, southern Jiangxi was overrun by bandits who had taken control of the mountains, pillaging the local people everywhere. They had even reached the point of organizing attacks on surrounding counties. As soon as Wang Yangming took office, he set out to eliminate the bandits. He turned a spy who had been delivering messages to the rebels, obtaining valuable intelligence on their movements. He then coordinated with the armies of Fujian and Guangdong to launch an offensive against the rebels, achieving a great victory. This ended the bandit problem that had plagued Jiangxi for 10 years. But how could a group of bandits grow so powerful? Wang Yangming keenly realized that there must be a mastermind behind these bandits. At the time, 3 princes were in theft in Jiangxi: Prince Ning, Prince Wai, and Prince Yi. Prince Wai and Prince Yi were both direct descendants of Zhu Di. But the lineage of Prince Ning was somewhat special. His ancestor had been sent to Jiangxi by Zhu Di under unusual circumstances. When Zhu Di, the Prince of Yan, rebelled, he pulled in his brother, Prince Ning, Zhu Quan, to assist him, promising to divide the empire with him once the rebellion succeeded. However, after Zhu Di ascended the throne, he reassigned Prince Ning to Nanchang, Jiangxi. Frustrated and disheartened, Zhu Quan shut himself away in Nanchang and devoted himself to writing. The great-grandson of Zhu Quan took the throne. He actively befriended powerful officials at court and secretly sheltered local bandits while recruiting soldiers in the shadows. At that time, many officials had already reported to the court that Prince Ning harbored rebellious intentions, but all of the memorials were suppressed and never reached the emperor. In 1519, Prince Ning, Zhu Chenhao, raised an army in rebellion, attacking Anqing. Upon receiving the news, Wang Yongming immediately gathered his troops to confront the rebellion. In just 35 days, he captured Prince Ning and his entire family. However, the real trouble came afterward. When Emperor Zheng Zhuhao heard that Prince Ning had rebelled, he was eager to personally lead the campaign. But halfway through his journey, he learned that the rebellion had already been suppressed, leaving him disappointed. One of Zhuhao Zhao's close advisors suggested a ridiculous idea. They told Wang Yongming to release Prince Ning so the emperor could capture him again. Wang Yongming was dumbfounded, but had no choice but to hand Prince Ning over to the eunuch Zhang Yao. Afterward, he wisely chose to retire, claiming illness, and not long after, Zhuhao Zhao fell seriously ill after a near-drowning incident and passed away in 1522. The new emperor, Zhuhao Kong Emperor Jiajing, promoted Wang Shuren to the title of Earl of Xinjiang, but never gave him significant responsibilities. After his father, Wang Hua, Wang Shuren returned to his hometown to mourn. He founded the Yongming Academy in Shaoxing to teach his new philosophy. By then, the fame of Wang Yongming's new school of thought had already spread widely. Many disciples came from afar to hear Master Yongming's teachings. However, Emperor Jiajing Zhuhao Kong remained indifferent to the new school of thought. In 1527, during a rebellion in Guangxi, Zhuhao Kong appointed Wang Yongming to suppress it, despite Wang's declining health. At the age of 57, Wang Yongming was suffering from severe lung disease. After the rebellion was quelled, he repeatedly petitioned to return home, but received no response. Unable to wait any longer, Wang Yongming began his journey home. However, while passing through Qinglong Hill in Jiangxi, he succumbed to illness and died in the wilderness. His final words were, "My heart is at peace." He left nothing more to say.